Here are two recent numbers that stand out. 53% of Iowa adults approve of the job Governor Kim Reynolds is doing. 31% approve of the job President Joe Biden is doing. You can see why one party today is feeling more optimistic about next year's election compared to the other one. Now, what's behind these numbers in the latest Des Moines Register Mediacom Iowa poll?
Well, first of all, I don't know why her popularity isn't even higher. I think she did a brilliant job handling COVID. She was there with good leadership, making the tough decisions on when to close businesses, when to open businesses, how much to open the economy when it was time. It was a tough call, and there was so many times she was in a no-win situation. I think she handled it brilliantly.
And now that we see this emergence of the Delta variant, you work for a small business, so you know how challenging it is for businesses to be impacted here. But we see the Delta variant sickening a lot more people here. We have the most hospitalizations that we have had since late last year. What is the next course of action for the governor? Months ago, she was promoting the use of vaccines and still supports that. But we're now getting into where you're seeing organized opposition to people requiring masks. We're seeing people pushing back against the concept of vaccinations, and especially the concept of forcing people to be vaccinated. What does the state need leadership-wise from the governor moving forward as we see these numbers go?
That's a tough question, Dave, because I'm not sure that the governor can do anything more about it. And the reason I say that is I'm pro-vaccine. I've got my vaccine just as soon as I was eligible. And I don't understand why more people don't get the vaccine. But I also don't believe in vaccine mandates. I think it's people's personal choice whether they would like to get vaccinated or not. As far as masks, the two words that I want stricken from the English language after this year are mask mandates. There is so much conflicting information about whether masks are useful or not. One study says, yeah, they help out, and another study says, no, they just contain germs. And these are even doctors that are disputing the facts about masks. So I don't believe in masks. I will wear one if I'm asked to. I think people should be courteous enough if they go into a store or someone's home and they're asked to wear a mask that they do. Otherwise, I don't wear a mask. I don't know what the governor can do to make people wear masks, except, or not wear masks, as the case may be. I think as you pointed out at one point, it's very political.
And most of the research has shown that masks would provide some kind of benefit. It seems like where the argument is how much of the benefit. You're also seeing that in these, at least in the Des Moines area, we've seen some very vocal opposition when the school boards have now taken up this issue since the judge on the federal side temporarily stopped the mask mandate ban, which is kind of hard to say. But how is that, you mentioned the idea that really when it comes down to civility toward others with difference of opinions, we are not seeing that at some of these school board meetings here. What's behind all of this, and is this just the way things are going to be right now?
I think this is the way things have been for a couple of years now. You have one side of the equation of personal responsibility. It's my choice to wear a mask. It's my choice to get vaccinated. If someone doesn't want to be around me because I don't wear a mask or don't get vaccinated, they shouldn't have to. The other side of the story is my kid has to go to school, so why can't everybody just cooperate and wear a mask for the good of the people? I think that the mask issue is a microcosm of America. It's a microcosm of the divide that we have between people who believe in the common good and people who believe in personal responsibility. And like you said, I wish we would have a little bit of civility around it.
Okay, let's talk about some other numbers in that Des Moines Register poll. When it comes to President Joe Biden, so we mentioned the governor's popularity of over 50% in this poll. The president has it in the other direction. So he does not quite have the support of 1 out of every 3 Iowa adults surveyed in this. What's behind this? Why is there such strong opposition to the way he has done his job so far?
Where do I start? Oh, let's start with his handling of COVID. Vaccine mandates, no, we're not going to mandate it. Mask mandates, no, we're not going to mandate it. We're going to be fully vaccinated by the end of last March, but now we're not. His handling of COVID is inexact and wishy-washy. Let's talk about the economy. You can't keep throwing money at a good economy and expect inflation to not happen. We're seeing it already. We're seeing wage inflation. We have to pay even existing employees more so that we can stay in business and keep the employees we've got. Now let's talk about the debacle in Afghanistan. It was sloppy. It was poorly executed. The end was just disgraceful. Even, I think, some Democrats and most independents have realized that Joe Biden is not a very good leader.
All right, up next, another challenge to overcome since COVID-19 hit our state.